Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Female Educators Roundtable, where we're speaking to parents about supporting the children on the online platform. I'm not saying they're homeschooling, because there's a difference between homeschooling and supporting your children on the online platform. Because homeschooling, you really do need to be writing the curriculum yourself. Whereas supporting your children on the online platform, it means that you've been sent the work which your child needs to be doing, and you are supporting them to complete the work, either supporting them in terms of ensuring that they're on the online platform, or going into the school, or however you feel you need to support them. So hence the difference. I do not say homeschooling, because I don't feel that it is homeschooling. I feel that we are supporting our children on the online platform. So yeah, I've got two parents with us, and it's so interesting because they're both educators, right? So it's a double thing. They're educators and parents. And as we know, it is challenging, because I am also a parent and an educator, and it's been really challenging. My name is Debby Enoe. I'm from Teacher Success Coach. I am an educator, and I coach female educators who've lost the passion for education, trying to empower them to start loving it again and enjoying the craft. So that's what I do. I'll introduce you to my two guests, who are going to introduce themselves in more detail than I can. One of them is international, and the other one is homegrown, which is brilliant, because I've hardly had any, a lot of my guests from the UK. Most of them are international. Last week I had two guests that was from the UK, which was fantastic. And today I have got another one, which is even fantastic, plus my international guest. Welcome, guys. Thank you so very much for accepting the offer to come online to share with us your experience of supporting your children on the online platform or in the physical, whichever way you're doing, especially during this time. I know there are a number of challenges. At the same time, there are also a number of triumphs. As I keep saying on my platform, the universe never gives us only challenges. They're also triumphs. We just need to look hard to find it. And they're there. So I'm sure you will share with us some of the triumphs that you've had. And I know there are challenges too. So welcome. Introduce yourselves, please.
Shall I go first? I'll go first.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sabina Sultana. I am a mother of two living in London. I have been a teacher. Well, I've started teaching from 12 years ago, but then I took a gap because I wanted to raise my kids. I wanted to be a full-time mom. And then I went back into teaching almost 8 years later. So there was a big gap. So the fact that you're talking about getting your passion again for teaching, I think that I needed a bit of oomph. So when I did go into it, I realized how much I actually missed it. So yeah, being a teacher and being a full-time mom, educating your kids from home, it's something else. It's completely different. And teaching from home as well, it's a complete different challenge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. My name is Nicole Barzy, Blair Barzy. I am in the United States. I am an educator, and in middle school, as we refer to it here. So that's ages 10 to about 14. I am a school administrator at this point. However, if you were to ask me any other day, I am an educator. I am the one that will come in, teach, coach, tutor, anything that has to do with improving our children's success. I have two children as well, one that is 10 and the other that is 12. And they are both participating in the remote platform. And it has been very interesting being an educator and trying to manage the education of an elementary school student and a middle school student at the same time. So that has been quite unique, and trying to manage a school building and coaching teachers and modeling lessons and teaching lessons and meeting with parents and everything that goes along with education. It's been interesting, definitely some triumphs and some challenges. So we'll talk more about that today.
Wow, thank you. Whoa, I'm listening to you and thinking, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Okay. And we could all share that, because when Sabina shared that she had some time of education, I also had some time off. I had a gap of 7 years off. I never realized it was so much until I start, looking at the CV with the gaps. Right? And I realized I had 7 years off, and getting back, it's been a challenge getting back. And when you finally got back, you're thinking, okay, not enough change in the education sector. Things are still the same. And I feel that what have really made the change was COVID, because COVID forced the education industry or the education area to reassess how teaching is done. Because you have a lot of teachers who say, oh, we've always done it like that in the physical, but they have never really embraced the online platform or technology into teaching as a full thing. But now we've actually been forced, our back against the wall, to actually be using technology for every single thing within the education sector. And as much as we could say COVID is negative, but also think that it actually brought education in line with other industry in terms of technology. Because for me, it's been challenging, but it's been fantastic, because I've learned so much. I have learned so much on this online platform. Yesterday, I put my students in breakout room again. I showed them a video from YouTube. Oh my goodness, I was the teacher. I was excited because having to actually, because I know how to do those on Zoom, but actually having to use it on Teams, where I actually had to share a YouTube video and find it. Oh my goodness, it was fantastic. I didn't have to ask any student. I navigated that myself. So, some people might think it's not a big thing, but for me, it was a big thing.
A big thing.
Someone who never did technology, who did technology, but not so much, because my technology was a lot of PowerPoint, but not having to do all of that. So it's been challenging, but at the same time, it's been wonderful, because I feel as educators, we need to see the beauty and the knowledge we've gained on the online platform, other than seeing all the negatives. I'm not saying that there haven't been tears. There's sometimes I think, oh my goodness, I can't do that. But at the same time, I had to breathe, take stock, and reassess it and say, okay, you have no choice. It's either do or die, and you cannot die, so you have to do it. So I think so we need to start looking at it like that, instead of saying it, oh my goodness, it's all bad. It's not. We've gained some free knowledge.
Mm-hmm. True.
I think I can I totally agree with you on that. The fact that coming back into the education system, yes, there's a lot of things that are still the same, but the technology aspects, not simple things like administration, it's not as paperwork based as it used to be. Marking work, giving feedback, everything is online, and that's something that we are forced to teach ourselves in order for it to continue in the industry. And what you're talking about, I think I need to come to you, because me and Debbie, we work together. So I think I'm going to come to you, Debbie. You seem a little bit more advanced than me on the whole Microsoft Teams. And you need to give me a little bit of coaching on that.
No problem.
Yes, I mean, it is brilliant. It is brilliant in the sense that you are forced to be in a situation that you've never been in before. I mean, that's teachers and students alike. And it really makes you think on your feet. You try to be as creative as possible. And it's not always easy to get the students engaged online as you would do face to face. But with these whole little tweaks here and there, it can work. It can work. You can get through eventually with the students.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, because I can see the frustration for students, for parents, for educators, right? This is the first time that we were outside of the confines of a brick and mortar place. And so we really have to change our thinking, we have to change our mindset, and we have to change our approach. There are so many firsts And it's pushing us to be in a space where we have to be comfortable with the unknown, and we have to get comfortable with knowing that we're learning together. One of the catchphrases that I use for last year, March to this year, right? Could you believe it's been a year since we've been in this space, was we are building the ship as we're sailing it, right? So there are lots of questions that come our way, and the answer is simply, I'm not sure yet. But we have to add a yet, right? It's either you sink or swim, and I just learned how to swim. I'm not about to sink.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting because it's also a learning lesson for students as well, that when adversity hits, you have to be resilient. You have to figure out, okay, well, this is different from what we have grown accustomed to. The way that I've been taught is the way that education has been for eons. And now it's completely different. I want to say maybe about a month and change ago, maybe 2 months ago, we had our very first parent teacher conference. And so there were many questions. How are we going to meet with the parents? What information are we going to bring? What is it going to look like? How are we going to navigate this? And we had to figure it out. We had to get creative. We had to give ourselves the grace to say, yeah, this messed up. This did not look great, but it's okay. We're going to learn from it. I realize that as an educator, that's probably one of the hardest things, because you're relinquishing control in that space so that you are growing. It's in front of an audience. You're growing, and you have to be very transparent with your thinking and your approach, because you have eyes that's also looking at you as you are doing this growing pattern. I would say one of the triumphs, though, is that in terms of building community, our children now are in this space of understanding that they would not have been in prior to this. They are a lot more forgiving, and they see themselves also as leaders in their own mind. So some of the language that we have adapted comes from them. Oh, Miss Barzi, you're glitching. Okay, hold on. Miss Barzi, why don't you try come out and then come back in? You think that'll work? Yeah. Do you have anything else open on the other pages? Yes, let me click, because you know Miss Barzi has about 15 different things going on her screen. Let's be very honest with each other. And then I'll come out of the class and I'll pull back in. Or there will be a teacher who their internet connectivity drops. And so if I'm in class and supporting, I'll pick up where they left off so that there's continuity in the lesson. And the students are very forgiving. Oh, okay, she'll be back, or he'll be back. It's okay. They probably are having some kind of internet connectivity. People might think, oh my gosh, the kids are going to start acting up. You have a culture that allows for that space of forgiveness. They're more understanding than anything else. They'll help you troubleshoot, if anything, and they're really good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so very true in terms of this troubleshooting business. Because one of them said to me, I think it was on Tuesday, because I was, things were dropping. They said, oh, miss, can you try this? And can you, because I couldn't yesterday morning, especially yesterday morning, I couldn't get my microphone working. And they said, have you tried this? Why don't you go out and come back in? And they were directing me. And I think, okay, yes. Brilliant. So we do need to, give them credit and allow them. We are in the space where we are being taught by our students, and we just have to allow them, because this is their era. This is not ours. So we need to embrace it and accept it. I'm not even fighting. I said, okay, right. Is that what you need me to do? Fine,
I think, Nicole, what you said was so interesting about how being transparent and how giving away some of our ownership. I think, a situation like this really does make you feel a little bit vulnerable. And yes. We need to show that. We need to accept and show that vulnerability to our students and the parents. Yes. So just last week, something happened to my computer, and it just like in the middle of the students doing some independent work, I said, I'll give you 5 minutes and then I'm going to come back and I want everyone to write something. And then come 5 minutes, literally at the point of 5 minutes, everything just switched off. Everything went, and I was panicking. I was like, "Oh my God, they're gonna think I've logged off. It looks unprofessional." I was really being harsh on myself.
Right.
I quickly downloaded Teams on my phone, and then I managed to get through to them. And then I said, "Guys," and I showed them. I got my phone. I showed them, "Look, you can see my computer. Something's gone wrong. I haven't abandoned you. I feel really bad." They're like, "Miss, it's all right. It's all right."
Yes.
About it. And I said, I did the register. I've lost the register. I don't know how to do it. Miss, calm down. Here's what you do. You go here. And they were really directing me on what to do.
Yep.
And then that really made me feel at ease. So you do, I think we are first to feel quite disappointed in ourselves sometimes when we don't know how to fix something. And you think as educators, I'm the teacher here. I should be teaching them and I should be leading this. And sometimes, excuse me, with everything going on, sometimes you do have to be a little bit vulnerable and say, "Hey, I'm struggling a little bit with this. Do you think you can direct me of what to do and where to go?" And they have been fantastic. They have been
Yeah, that is so very true. Okay, in terms of supporting your own children, we supported everyone else's children, right? That's the beauty of we being educators, right? We are supporting everyone else's children. But remember, we have ours to support. And what are the challenges and what are the triumphs?
First of all, I was telling Nicole earlier, I do apologize if you hear background noise. I have 2 boys. My younger one is autistic, so he has special needs. So he will come in and out, and I've set up toys for him there just so that he doesn't disturb me too much. He can be distracted. So being at home, I think being a key worker in the UK, the children get priority to go back to school. So I was fortunate enough for my kids to be allowed to go back into school. But when they were here, that came eventually. When they were here, if I were to have meeting, if I were to have teaching, I would get disruption, especially having a child who doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why he needs to be away from his mom. He doesn't need to understand why the door is shut and he can't see me. My older one is fine. So my younger one, sometimes he does need to be a little bit, his dad has to physically take him away sometimes, just so I don't get disturbed with my teaching. And that's heartbreaking. That is really, it's not fair on him. So in that sense, when he did eventually go back to school, it was the best thing for him, and it was the best thing for me as well. Then I can carry on with my job, and then he is happy being in an environment where he's safe, he's free, he's playful, he's learning, he's got all the attention that he needs. So in terms of homeschooling, for me, it hasn't been that intense because my kids were able to go back to school. But when they were here, and I didn't immediately start teaching when they were here. For my older son, he understands that there's something going on, so I had to explain the whole COVID and what it is and how it impacts people. But I didn't tell him so much so that he became fearful. And being at home learning, I just said that this is the situation with the COVID. We're just learning a little bit. It's just a few classes at home. It was never homeschooling. You have to do this. This is your timetable. I never made it rigid. So being at his home is your safe space. I never wanted him to feel anxious or there's so much rigidity at home because he already gets that somewhere else. I didn't want him to feel like he's got that at home. So I said to him, you are learning, you are free, we'll do homework at your own pace whenever you want to. If sometimes you feel like you don't feel like being in class, or you feel like you're not engaging, or if he has a bit of anxiety, I wouldn't push him towards it. So I had a bit more of a relaxed approach. But then eventually he went back into school and he was absolutely fine.
Thank you for that. That's interesting. That's really interesting in terms of, not if you don't feel that, the fact that if he doesn't feel engaged, he need to, come off. I've said that to my son as well, because the fact is his lessons are an hour long. That's a challenge because the brain could only take chunks of 30 minutes. Any more than that, you've lost it. So I'm saying to him, look, the teachers are not seeing you because the teachers have the camera off. The children have the camera off. So which means there's no scene taking place there. So I said to him, okay, if you're feeling tired on the platform, get up, have a walk around and do things instead of sitting on the platform for 1 hour because nothing is going in. When I have my break and I run upstairs, I'm seeing him drawing also. So that is telling me that his teacher have lost him. So it's pointless you sitting there if that teacher have lost you. And I said that to my own student. I give them 5 minutes break after every 20 minutes lesson. I teach them for 20 minutes and I say them, get off the platform. Right? So I get them off the platform and I say them, okay, after 5 minutes, come back. And that's how I do my lessons. Because I feel that it's better me telling them because I'm not seeing them, so they've gone off anyway. We assume that they're there, right? But we don't know that.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is good for me to hear and has me thinking about it. And I'll definitely ask my children for feedback because they give me feedback all the time. There are times where I am close by. I will credit the school that they attend because the teachers do a really good job communicating with me and I communicate with them. I don't know that they know what I do. I prefer for it to not even go down that road. Like just know that I'm their mommy and that's it. But but there are pieces where I can see both boys will get very distracted from the work. So it appears as if they are focused, but then their faces turn green and red and there's different colors on beyond what the teacher is showing. And so then I would have to ask a question in the middle of me having my meetings and being in classes, why is your face green? And then they'll quickly click off of Roblox or whatever is on the back of the screen. And then they'll go back and look at what the teacher is providing. So, you know, there's been times where they're not as productive as I would say that they could be. However, in me managing them, what it does allow for me to do is to do some of that back work. So let's say, for instance, they're missing 10 assignments, then we'll sit down and we'll start to strategize when in this window of time will you be able to catch up. And for both boys, they do a pretty good job of, you know, kind of managing it, but they still need a mommy and someone who is going to manage them because they're children and they're going to try to see what they can get away with. Just knowing that I need for them to be on top of their instruction so that I can be on top of the instruction in the building. And then dad is off doing his work for his company. What we did was we set aside time on Fridays or the weekend. Sometimes it'll bleed into Saturdays where we have just family game time. So anywhere from dominoes to cards to board games. There's this game Among Us that they were teaching me how to play. So just so that we can have that unstructured time. We've done sip and paints where they're sipping on their apple juice. I'm not sipping on apple juice, but we are all painting and we're enjoying each other's company. There are times where they would either help me make something, cook, bake, just to have those unstructured times throughout the week because it becomes daunting when it's just work, and you don't have a place to move outside of the safe haven, as Sabina was saying. You should be comfortable at home. So how do you strike that balance when it's work kind of a deal?
I think that was my fear. I think you worded it better than I did. my fear was that I don't want things to be so structured for eventually them to find education something so much of a burden. I never wanted that for my son, and he's generally doing very well in class. He's a very smart boy. He's very bright, and that was my biggest fear. I don't ever want him to not enjoy learning, because right now he's very much enjoying learning. And my fear was for him to be continuously in front of a computer, and you could just see it in his face, just a bit grumpy, and he doesn't want to be there, and he's almost sucking the joy out of his learning. So then what we'll do his homework together afterwards. We'll do the homework together, and we're doing the same homework. So he does his homework, and I do a separate version of his homework. And then we say whose is better, so we'll make it quite fun and playful. And then we have to upload it. That's something that I've learned, to upload his work on the computer and then send it to them. And it's like, wow, it's so many things that this is so many things that situation is teaching you. The fact that I have to now upload a 7-year-old's work to a primary school. So that was definitely, and he would get so excited. And the fact that we both did it together just to make it a bit fun. And like Nicole said, we do have our family time as well. Like my son loves to go jogging with his dad in the weekends in the park, play football. And at home, we'll play chess or any sort of board games or word search and things like that. But I think we have more fun time than learning time. And if we do learn, we incorporate it. Well, I incorporate it in a way that is fun, and it's a game. And he doesn't realize the fact that he's actually picking something up that is actually quite educational and that would help him in his school.
I think that's so important in terms of, learning need to be fun, because as I said to my students when I first started, that something I asked them, I say, okay, what was the book the story book you remembered, and why did you remember it? And I said to them, I want you to take this into your learning right now, because you remember it because of the colors, because of the unusual images, etc. So learning was fun because you learn the different colors, you learn new words, but it wasn't this is this, you learn it through play. So, and that is so important, that we try to empower students to learn through play, because when we become an adult, we seem to have lost the playful element, which actually enables us to learn so much more.
True.
So it's interesting that, when you say, Sabina, in terms of, involving play, I think it's so very important, because I try to, click this into my, my student as well, because I think it's important that I use all the different senses in order to learn, because it becomes fun. And one of the things I would say COVID have actually made a lot of parents do is know the children a lot more, because yes, we knew our children, but not, we knew them as much, right? We know them a lot, but especially us educators, because we were leaving at the same time with the children, we come back at the same time, we do homework. But for me, I feel COVID have actually made me know a lot more about my, my 15-year-old, because I knew him very well, but I know him even more now.
That's so nice.
Know him even more now, because it's like, oh my goodness, because a lot of things in terms of the online platform, there's so much. And I feel that as parents, that need to be embraced, and I think that's one of the issues we had when COVID just started, when educators were being attacked verbally, because parents did not know the children and they were forced to have to support the children, because they thought the little diamonds were so little diamonds, so well behaved, etc. And they were seeing a different child they never knew existed. So I thought it was funny, because I'm thinking, you didn't know your little diamond, you're now beginning to know them. So I think that's what is actually forced us, right? Because I could have always said, yes, I know my 15-year-old, but now I even know him even more than I did. And I'm one of these parents who hands-on, who spend time hands-on, know what's going on, etc. And now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't know this little piece here.
I mean, I would agree for some. of the parents, right? So we have some parents that are essential workers. And so what ends up happening is that they are not home with the children. So they are out and they are doing the work. Either they're a nurse or they're a doctor or they're working at the grocery or whatever the case is. And the child now is being managed between the teachers, myself, and or a babysitter. And so there's that cohort of students who, or a grandparent. And so there's that cohort of students where they are growing and developing, but the parents are not able to see hands on, because the parent, especially the highlight of COVID, if they worked in a hospital, they spent very little time with their children in fear of them being a transmitter of this virus, right? So there's that cohort. Then you also have, and what I find unique is that in this experience, and I think we would all agree that we've also developed as well in a, it's I saw a little face.
Exactly, yes.
But we've also developed skills that we didn't know that we had either. So just imagine children now trying to navigate. And so where we're trying to learn our children, they're also trying to learn themselves on this very unique platform. So what we may have understood in, let's call it February and January of 2019, in the brick and mortar school, I see you, I go to work, you go to school, and then we come back, is very different, even for that child. Children are battling with depression. Some children are struggling with just unhealthy habits. Some children are struggling with loss and haven't had to grieve, especially if they lost individuals due to COVID or just over the course of life. And so imagine that you're in this space, you are somewhat isolated from what you understood life to be, and now you have to continue to grow. And again, the age group that I support, middle school, is challenging all by itself outside of COVID. So hormonally, I'm trying to develop, I'm trying to understand self, but now I can't even engage with the people that dynamically I am supposed to be driven to. I'm supposed to want the what's the word that I'm looking for? The approval of my peers when I am 12, 13, 14. I'm like that they are the people working for, right? When in primary, you're more so working to please the teacher. When you're in middle school, you're working chemically to please your peers. And then in secondary, you start to get a sense of self, and then you go into adulthood. If you don't get an opportunity to engage with your peers, hey, you know, it hinders your ability to make sense of life and understand self and have esteem. And there's so many pieces that come in, so it's difficult. It really is difficult, but it pushes us to think about how we're creating those spaces for students to still navigate and have healthy relationships, since there is this issue of being in the same space. And even for the students that's in the brick and mortar, it's nothing like what we have done before. You're 6 feet, you can't just walk freely throughout the building. In cold, that you can track or you're God forbid you have an exposure to COVID. There's so many parameters that we have as per the CD, keep the number low, but that's also a hindrance as well. I classes as large as 30, maybe even 35 students. Now we have 12. Some classes we have 3. Some classes we have 9. And that also plays a significant role as to who this child that you thought you knew, who are they right now, because the circumstances have changed, because they're not the same person. No one leaving this is going to be the same as before. That's my thought.
That is so very true, though. That is so very true.
Very powerful what you said. I think my because I've got a neurotypical child and a child with needs, so I feel like I'm always on two different ends when it comes to meeting these needs. With the whole lockdown and then the education system, I found like my older son to be he's very resilient. His maturity really shone through during this situation. And as Nicole said, we have our homework, and the kids, they are with the family, then they're at school, then they're with babysitters. In my situation, my support bubble is my sister. So in the UK, we have a support bubble where we are allowed to interact with one other family for necessity reasons, for childcare support. So because they're very comfortable there with their cousins and everybody, so they were absolutely fine. However, during lockdown, and eventually my older one was fine, my younger one, him being having autism, I really saw he had a lot of triggers that I didn't know he had. So that's something that was new to me. There was a lot of triggers. If he didn't go out one day, he had to go out the next day. Rain, shine, thunder, it doesn't matter. He had to go out the next day because his frustration level was through the roof, and he's non-verbal, so he can't express himself. And the only way he can is quite violent towards himself and others. So that's one thing I've learned. You're right when you said nobody is the same when they leave this. You learn so much, as Debbie, as you said, you learn so much more about your children than you didn't know before. And then I think as adults as well, we're not going to be the same.
Of course not.
Once we come out of this, as educators or otherwise, we're not going to be the same. So it was really eye-opening to know how to manage with any two different kids, it's going to be difficult. But with my younger son having special needs, it's a lot of guesswork. And I had to constantly guess, is this situation okay? Is this happy? And I was very fortunate for his nursery to be so amazing. They opened the school up just for him, and there was no other kids. And so he went in there and he had teachers, and it just completely changed him. And he was just so happy. 2 days a week he went in, and they were happy. And then eventually in September, he started reception primary school. And then that was a big stress as well. How is he going to be? But he was absolutely fine. But even now, the thought of a weekend coming, it gives me anxiety because I cannot stay home those 2 days at home. If he's at home one day, he has to go out the next day. So because of lockdown, these are the new things that these are anxieties he's developed. And I now had to learn that about him. So today, Saturday, we did not go out. Tomorrow, Sunday, I have to.
You have to go out.
Yeah.
I have to go out. So being at home, and I teach evening classes to adults as well. During the day, if that day he's not gone out, it doesn't matter what paperwork I have. It doesn't matter what marking I have, what reports I have to do. I have to take him out. My husband's at school. My other son's in school. If Issa, my younger son, is there, and I'm supposed to be working, but that job is quite flexible. I have to take him out. And then when my husband comes back and everyone's at home, then my husband can deal with him. But then it's that extra pressure on me. So that time I've missed to meet his needs. As a teacher, I have to now work the double the
around
speed,
the clock.
double the mental capacity. Even after I finished at 9 p.m. my online teaching, I'll go to bed probably at 1 p.m. 2 p.m. just so I can catch up with the times that I've missed. So I never see, having conversation like this is so enlightening. Sometimes you don't think about what you've gone through.
You don't
talk about it.
You don't. You just go. That's the thing. When you're in survival mode, you just figure it out and you keep going. And it's not until something stops you in your tracks that you have time to now sit and reflect. And it's funny because I told Debbie, via Facebook, I said, this is, she invited me to another session before that I participated in. That was the one time, I want to call it July, maybe
Yeah,
July,
yeah,
August.
yeah, yeah,
That was the
yeah.
first time that I actually stopped to think about the questions that Debbie asked. I didn't have another time to sit and reflect. Reflect on what? We're building as there's water in the boat, take the bucket, pour out the water, it's time to go. Like that's that's just what do you say? School is getting ready to start. I don't have time outside of that one moment to sit down and talk to Debbie. Who has time to stop to do what? What do you mean? There's parent teacher conference. What does that look like? I have new students. Where are they going? How are we training them? How are we communicating with the families? What does that look like? My teachers are scared. I am too. What does that look like? How do we bring them back? What does this platform look like? Okay, now we're going to train. We're going to learn together. What did you learn? Great. Share it with everyone. How are we going? I'm supposed to review teachers. Okay. Whoa, what does that look like? Okay. So how we there's all these things that's moving. Yeah. And then I have one child that goes off to middle school from elementary. So I'm like, okay, where are your teachers? What are they doing? What does this look like? You started all over again. Yes.
Yeah, it is so very true. That's the reason why I decided to start those platforms, because I felt that as an educator, when we actually first had the lockdown, there was nobody to talk to.
Right.
Because it was new. So then I was meditating, and then I had this vision of starting Female Educators Roundtable. I thought, okay, I'm going to advertise for women to come on the platform. Oh my goodness, they had a lot to say, because we were all in this together from March last year, and there's a lot to talk about, because we didn't even know what's happening, especially when parents were saying that educators, because around July, August, parents were saying, oh, educators are lazy, they don't want to go back to work. But then I had to remind people on the platform, we are human beings first, before we became educators. Because I think it is so easily forgotten that we human beings, so you are afraid, so are we.
Right.
So that's the reason why we're behaving like that. We also afraid because it's new and you're not exposed as much as we are. So that's the fear element. So it was interesting because it's trying to navigate this whole thing. And now I realize, oh my goodness, when parents were at home initially in March last year, they were not doing so much. They were just blaming. But now this is the online platform. They have to be doing. So, and it's interesting because you hear them all crying out because they don't know what to do. The children are not engaging. And what do you do? I say to them, okay, let them take time off the platform. There's no point in them sitting there doing nothing, because their teachers are not seeing them. They're seeing the teacher sometimes. So what's the point of you allowing this child to sit on this platform and this child is feeling anxious because this is new for them? So hence the reason why I thought, okay, let me start talking to parents. Let us now share our anxiety of navigating this platform as parents, because we are parents first and educators after. And it's interesting because you realize that I think now parents are beginning to realize that we in this together now, because as much as you were hammering us as being teachers, you're now realizing, oh my goodness, how did they do this? Because it's true. How did we do that? And it ain't easy.
No, it's not. I mean, one thing I would say though, in terms of the children, well, my children's school, we see their teachers all the time. So and I don't know if it's a states thing, because we also have it where we have to see, like, you will be marked absent if I can't see you and you can't see me. The students know, like, they have to put their screens on. The only time that they do not have it on is if there's some kind of malfunction with their screen. And then if that's the case, that they need to let me know so that they could come to the school building and get a loaner. Or there's been times where the example that you gave, Sabina, I completely co-sign, right? I got kicked off of one platform and I had to get on my cell phone, and the kids, they were navigating the entire process. Oh, Miss Bart, she's back on, but she's not on her computer. I think she has another device. Her name comes up twice. Yes, yes, yes. I had to download it, so I'm here. And so I'm trying to get them to, and I'm holding the phone all types of awkward. So they're talking to me and they could only see like my ear and the side of my head. And, I suffer from not accustomed. So it's like, Miss Varzy, we can see your eye. I'm like, oh, yes, right. Okay, yeah. So let me try to put it up this way and put it up against the computer so that it looks like I'm talking to you, kind of. Does this work? Yeah, that's better. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that feedback. And, but it's mandatory. They have to show their faces and we have to show ours.
Wow.
To connect.
We don't have that here, do we? It's not. I think it would work better for us.
It would. Engagement would be better because,
Definitely.
It would. Because you see, one of the problem is that I said to my son, all I'm seeing is emojis and initials. I said it'd be lovely when I actually go into the physical classroom to actually see you physically instead of seeing you, in the, like a picture of you. And it's the same thing with my son's school. With my son's school, it's even different because I'm saying to him, where are your teachers? And he keep on saying to me, Mom, you're not the one teaching me. I said, I hear you, but where are your teachers?
Right.
He's not seeing his teachers. And I said to him, no wonder you're not engaging. No wonder you're drawing because you've lost.
It really does help when you can look at a child and the child can look at you.
Yeah.
If there's a joke or someone is laughing, you can see that also.
Yeah.
It does get hairy because sometimes it's just like, can you tell your parent that they need to put on clothes, please and thanks, and I'll hop on the phone and hi. So baby girl just went across the screen and she ain't got no clothes on. So I need you all to get, because now you're in everyone's home. That's the other thing. I think it helps because it also makes you a real person, because I'll be talking and I have children and one of the two, I mean, he likes to get in it. So he's over there and he's making jokes and they're like, Miss Barzy, who is that? I'm like, that's Brendan. And I'll move my screen real quick and Brendan will run away and said, you think that what I do with you all, I have to come back and do at home. I said, I told you all this before, but now you see it for yourself. When I speak to parents, that has been the godsend. That has been very, very helpful because they see beyond what I'm telling you, you need to make sure they're doing this, they're doing that. I'm in it with you. This is not me telling you from some book that I read. I am here with you. Oh, my child did this. Well, let me tell you what my child did. Really, Miss Bud? Yes. So this is what we're going to do. Did you know that there's this app that can stop them from going onto YouTube? No, what's the app? No problem, sending it your way. We're going to work on this together. I mean, you build just a whole different sense of community because you need it. You need the support. Wherever you could get it, you need it. And so that has been very helpful. But I would say if you could get your students to get on the camera, I recommend it.
We had a parents' evening. We had a parents' evening. When did we have it? On Wednesday?
Thursday.
Yeah, we had a parents' evening on Thursday, and it was the first time I saw my student's face because we started this job.
Oh my goodness, you were blessed.
It was the first time. I've never seen them. I've never seen their faces because they don't. Initially, there was a policy that they're not allowed to turn the cameras on. Then the policy changed. Now they can. And the teachers couldn't turn their cameras on, then the policy changed and teachers can, then another policy changed so the students can. So I said to them, why don't you turn your cameras on? I want to see your face. And it's just like, it's mute and the cameras are off. So I can't hear them, I can't see them. So it was very difficult. So when we had the parents' evening, I could see the parent, I could see the child. And I said, where is so-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, where is your son? Where's your daughter? Oh, they're just here. Do you want me to call them? I go, please. I see them, I go, my God, is that what you look like? You're
right, wow.
I never get to see your face. And they was, majority of them said, Miss, I don't mind you seeing them. I just don't want everybody else to see me like this. So they're very self-conscious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Teenagers, the
Okay.
teenagers, they're very self-conscious. They just, I just don't want
That
anyone
is true.
to
Yeah.
see me like this in case they think something or in case they say something. And you know,
Yeah.
teenagers, they can be a little bit cruel and judgmental and make comments, and that's
True.
what everybody fears. And they don't
True.
want to wake up 8 o'clock in the morning doing their face up and then going on camera.
Hmm.
They don't have the energy for that. So yes,
Yeah.
and so when I did speak to them, it was just so lovely. I feel like I can now hear them, I can now see them, I can now speak to the parents, and the
Yeah.
only thing I could comment on is the fact that the attendance was great or the attendance wasn't great.
Okay.
They sometimes some students, they're quite vocal. Some students, they like to comment on chats, so I
Hmm.
can't hear them. So it is
Hmm.
very disengaging, both
Hmm.
as teachers and as students. And sometimes the students, they don't want to talk because others aren't talking.
Mm.
So it's very much about the peer pressure and what the peers are going to think, or the peers are going to say, well, I don't want to be the only one who's doing this. Initially there was
Hmm.
one student that turned the camera on. I was just so happy and I was hoping others would, but then she turned her camera off as well because nobody else was
Because
doing
no
it.
one else joined her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is challenging.
That's
Now
rough.
I do,
Yeah.
as much as again, and like I said to Debbie, I think me and her, she needs to teach me some of the strategies that she's doing with the breakout rooms and how
Oh
to
yes.
Yeah.
the sound on YouTube, because when I do it, I don't know how to put the sound on. I sound
Oh,
so.
yesterday I was excited,
Oh,
man.
you
I
said you did,
got
yeah.
it. I showed 2, 3 videos on YouTube.
Nice.
I was in my element yesterday, you know.
Nice. Nice.
So it really is, some of those things, we've actually had to teach ourselves in order to
Hmm.
learn some of those, those situations on the platform, you know. So would you say there were any, in terms of, what any triumph would you say in terms of supporting your children?
Children at home, or
Yeah, at home.
At home. Oh.
I think it's really helped the fact that, oh well, it's really helped the fact that the schools, for as key workers, the children are able to go into school, and so for me that was, for their mental well-being and my mental well-being,
Hmm.
it was amazing. It was really really helpful.
Mm.
And secondly, I think working at home has its advantage because I can pick my kids up from school before I
Yeah.
could do that.
True.
So small things like that, picking the kids up from school, having a conversation. How was your day? And what did you do? What did you have for lunch? Oh, let's go quickly get
Hmm.
a hot chocolate. And it's
Hmm.
nice. It's that is really nice. Before I couldn't do that. I had to rely on my sister and my people in my support bubble to pick them up and have and babysit. So
Mhm.
that is one positive. Being working from home, I can pick up my kids from school.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Thank you.
have to
Yeah.
agree with that. So last year, because again, I've been in the building and the children have been home. And we decided to have them remote to limit the exposure, because we also get the messages when there's a COVID case. And so even in my own building where we've opened, there's a classroom that has a case, we have to send that class, home, or there's a teacher where there's a student or there's a whatever, and we have these pockets. Um, we've decided to have them remote because I like the term, Sabina, the support bubble. Our support bubble, they are 65 plus in terms of age. And so we know that that is the population that, should, God forbid, they were to get COVID, that the transition is difficult for them, or more difficult, I would say, because there's been younger individuals who have passed from COVID as well. So we decided to keep them home for that reason. Uh, I would say, though, it helps me to engage in a different level of conversation, because I'm seeing, especially on the days when I am home, I see what you see. So now we can talk about that book. We can talk about the news, the current events. We can have different dialogue. We can look at your math and talk through that problem together, because I'm able to hear it. Now, my children are very independent. So sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle. Come on, let me hear what the teacher's saying. No, I don't want you to. Are you going to say something? I'm not going to say anything. I just want to hear. Just, unmute. No, I'm not going to do that. Why do you have your camera up? I don't want them to see you. Why? They know what I look like. So there's a little bit of that. But it's been good in that we can talk through what they're learning. When there is a question, they feel comfortable coming and saying, okay, well, I'm in middle school and you're in middle school, so now let me pick your brain about this, even though they would prefer to just figure it out on their own. Mm-hmm. And then when they're ready to play with their games, their friends, they have that space to do that. You know what you have to do so that you can have your you time. You have your you time, I have my time, and we go off in different spaces and we leave each other alone until it's food time. And then we come back together. And that's, that's been neat.
That's so important. I think the fact that, the lockdown, that's something that's really helped us realize that everybody needs a bit of individual time. We all need our time.
Yes.
I think my 7-year-old son, he really understood. Before, when I would try to explain that concept to him, he would never get it. So he would feel a bit rejected when I say that. But now I think he's realized, okay, I need a bit of time.
Yes.
To myself. So he'll get his notebook or he'll just take an iPad and he'll go on his top bunk and he'll have some time to just unwind. And I think especially now after school he'll come home and he just needs that period of unwinding. And he gets it now. And I think during this whole period, I've really emphasized a lot on the mental well-being, mental health, mental well-being, and because we've gone through a lot of anxiety, my whole family. We've gone through a lot of anxiety, and I think sometimes unconsciously we do try, that does somehow transfer into our children. And when you become aware of that, when I became aware of that, I had to really change some of my strategies as to how I word things and how my mentality should be. And sometimes I need to be a little bit more upbeat, and we shouldn't be so afraid to go out to the park as long as we are following the rules and regulations. So my dad passed away as well during the whole lockdown period. So that was
I'm so sorry.
Really, really affected all of us, and including my 7-year-old. He was 6 because he was very, very close to his granddad. So all of that in mind, I had to really rethink my strategy as to how am I going to now do this. Like, I'm grieving, the whole family, my son is grieving. Then we had to we had to force ourselves to pick ourselves back up and really focus on our mental well-being. So when it did come to schools opening, online learning, timetables, I just thought, I don't want to put that pressure on him. He's not ready for that. Let me take a step back, and if he wants to, he will. And when the school did open, they were very aware of our grieving processes, and they were so helpful. So helpful. They called me, they called my son, and the counselling availability was there for him as well, should he need it. But he was in a safe space to express himself with whatever, whether it was the COVID, whether it was the school, whether it was his granddad. He needed to know that home and school is a safe space. School is your education. That's fine. You are able to express yourself. But at home, it's a safe space for him to bring out any form of emotions that he wanted to and express himself. Some days he'll have a good cry, sometimes he'll have a tantrum, and I just learned to let it be. Let him feel well. If he's happy, let him enjoy his time before I think, okay, homework time. Before I was a little bit more rigid with timetable. Bedtime is at this time, lunch is at this time, dinner is at this time. I've kind of learned to let go a little bit.
Brilliant.
And it's been a lot more relaxed.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And you feel much lighter, isn't it? Much lighter, Yeah. That's so interesting.
I think it definitely puts things in perspective, though. Like that's one piece that I walked away with, or I'm walking away with. It's just the things that would have been a high priority. Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it
No.
in the grand scheme
In
of
the
things,
grand
do we
scheme of things.
really need to stress over this thing?
Yeah.
And the answer most of the time is not
No,
really, or not right
exactly.
now.
Yeah, yeah, it is very true because I think this whole thing have make us reassess our priorities, definitely, in terms of what we see, what we took was priority. Now it's like, it's like I say on my Facebook yesterday, that sometimes you just have to accept that you're messing up, and it's like we don't know what's going on the platform. It's like yesterday morning when I realized, I'm talking to this and I say, Miss, you have no mic. Really? Okay.
Right.
Let's do the chat then. Before, probably I would have been panicking. All I said, okay, then let's just do the chat. And we just did the chat. It was much tiring because you constantly have to be typing, but we did the chat. And the second lesson, I figured it out. And I figured, yeah, I've got it. But it's like the first lesson, when it happened, I thought, I can really try to figure it out now because it's going to bring in panic. So I just need to ignore it and just start writing. Okay, thank you for telling me. Okay, let's just write in the chat. That's it.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, we tend to, we find ways of navigating things, and we feel that, for me, I feel that it is okay to make mistake and cock up. It's fine.
So we're improvising, we're adapting as we're going along.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and that's exactly what we have to do. Okay, what tips? So from all of this, being at home, learning, finding new ways, etc., what tips, strategies, or tools have you gained from being at home with your children, supporting your children education? What are the tips you've gained that you say, oh yes, I've gained this, and now I know how to support them a little bit more now?
I think what I've just mentioned previously is to kind of just let go a little bit. Just don't be so structured. It doesn't need to be so structured. Things are difficult as it is. So be a bit kind to yourself first and foremost, and be just a bit more lenient with your kids. Things, like I said, things are already difficult, and there is a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear mongering that doesn't need to take place at home. Your home should not be that place where those emotions should take over. So a little bit more kinder to yourself, kinder to your kids, have some unwind time. Everybody needs a bit of me time. And education is there, it's always going to be there. We are living in a country where we are fortunate. With the countries that we are fortunate enough to have the facilities that we do have. And not everybody has that. So gratitude.
Right.
And sometimes just have a bit of fun with the situation that you're given in.
Sabina, she hit the nail on the head. I don't have anything to add to that. Be creative, love your children, appreciate, that you've been given gifts to have and to cherish. Life is short. And yes, education. I mean, the children know that it's a priority. They know. I'm sure in all of our households, we're all educators, so they know, right? they know more than I tell my parents and teachers and students, I'm like, y'all need to think about my children, to pray for them. Because they know, right? This is what they eat, sleep, and breathe. I'm an educator. Their grandmother was an educator. Like, they can't escape it. This is around them. They didn't ask for this life, but this is the life that they were given, right? But in this particular space, creating opportunities. So in the heat of, again, COVID. Okay, you want chips? Let's go walk to get it. We're going outside. Yep, put your mask on. Time to go. Have your hand sanitizer. We say what we need to say, and then we hit the road and you get our exercise that way. Or, but like you just have to be creative. Where there's a will, there's a way. But it's okay. Okay, this is what your score is right now. What are we going to do to fix it? Because there is a fix So what are we going to do? What's the next step? We can't dwell in this in a way that we may have dwelled in it before. We don't have time for that now. So how are we going to move forward?
I totally agree with that, actually, in terms of, how are we going to move forward? And we can't really sit in this, anymore. It's like, moving on with it. And as I said to my son, I said to him, you need to come off that platform when you have enough of screen time. Oh, but mom, you're not my teacher. I said, but I'm your mother. So you come off the computer because you've been on it for too long, too much screen time. It makes no sense because your brain and your body is sucked in terms of the screen time. And parents need to know that it doesn't have to be so prescriptive. It's okay to come off the platform, and it's okay to get up and stretch. And it's okay to, if you find that your child have enough in terms of you realize they've lost it, they're not engaging anymore, there's no point in them actually sitting there. It's like having a cup of water and the cup is full, but still pouring water into it. And what happened? The water just run out. Nothing is going in. That's the brain. The brain cannot take anymore. So it's like you're pouring the water and it's just going straight out. That's it. So it's like, take them off the platform. So I said to myself, come on, off the platform. Go stretch. I said, the beautiful thing is for you, your teacher is seeing you, you get off and you go back on. And when you go back on, you're ready to learn now because you had that break time. Because sometimes we need to be aware that you're on the screen for so long, just zoom in, just a teacher teaching for an hour. It makes no sense because in the physical classroom, although you might have an hour lesson, but because your children, the students are moving all over, it breaks the lesson up.
Different, right?
Exactly. So you don't have an hour just teaching the students because they might want to do this. You put them in group. They go over there. Oh, miss, I need to go and pick up they're around the classroom. So why do we think that we should get our children to be sitting on this platform for 1 hour looking at the screen? It makes no sense. So I do say to parents that if you feel that child isn't connecting, take them off it. You don't have to be so prescriptive.
Well, I would say take them off, but then take them off the computer altogether.
Yes.
Right? Because it's one thing to say take them off and you're not on the platform, but then when you go and you stare on the same screen, but for a game,
no,
you're still, exactly. That's not helping either. So that's the one thing that I realized with my children, because when they have their break, the break in the class looks the same. If I don't say something, did you get out of this chair? Have you been sitting in this chair for how long now? You need to get up. You need to go out. You need to, I'm hungry. Great. You need to go and prepare that. It's not going to come to you because you move. You can't just stare at the screen the entire, because if you don't cut that part off, they'll do it for 16 hours straight.
Yeah.
They will definitely try their best to.
Yeah, and I totally agree, because when I say to myself, son, get off the screen, no, forget that. It's like I'm saying to you, go downstairs.
Yeah.
Go, walk around, do something.
Something
because
other than stare at the screen.
Exactly. It's important that, when we actually say to them, because, you're on the screen, come off the screen. Come off the screen means no screen. I don't care about no, game, etc. Come off completely, because that's what I'm trying to promote, taking you off the screen.
Yeah.
And some parents seem to think that they need to have this child doing the schoolwork constantly. No, it's not. The mental health is more important than the academic health. Yeah. And that's something we need to start embracing, their mental health, because it's going to be a real big thing in the next few months, especially they're going back into the physical classroom. We are then going to start seeing the impact of all this. Because while they're on the screen and the teacher is away from them, the parents are noticing, but not so much. But when they actually come back to us in the physical classroom, that's when we are going to be seeing real mental health challenges.
Yep.
And we need to be able to deal with it, how we're going to navigate that, because it's going to be big. The next few months, there'll be issues because it means they're now away from the screen. They now have to readapt into the physical classroom again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big thing. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we just wrap up?
I think this has really helped me.
This
has really helped me to kind of reflect on things that probably I've suppressed. A lot of memories that I've probably, so it's allowed me to read some things to recircuit, and I think it's a good thing. It's healthy, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to have this conversation and for us to talk so openly about this and just sometimes knowing that you're not alone and you're other people in the same boat.
Yes.
You forget that sometimes.
Yes, you do. Because you're so into your bubble that you forget that there are other people there who in the same thing like you.
Definitely. Right. And especially like now where everybody is isolated, nobody can intermingle. So having this opportunity to talk to somebody other than your support bubble, other than your own family members.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And this is even across the pond. We're seeing the same thing.
Yes.
So
yes.
Across the pond.
Yes.
So know that it is not specific to the UK. This is just where we are in life right now. But this is great. And your lasting statement in terms of when we return fully back, if we ever return fully back, I don't know, but I'm thinking now about, well, what can we do? What supports can we put together so that we are aiding children in that transition back, and not just children, teachers as well. Like this period has been difficult for children, for children, students, but for teachers, for staff members, for parents. You know, it's one thing when you call, I shared this with you earlier, Debbie, you call the parent, but the parent is not a parent when you're speaking to them and they just lost a parent, right? So now you're speaking, to the child of someone who is aching. And so I could care less about your child not doing the homework. What do you need right now? The conversation is very, very different. And I've been in that boat, so I understand it, right? Where my mentality, my mindset, my approach has to be different. You don't care that your child is late to school. You're lucky that you woke up and you ate something today. Like that's a win. So, it's also just thinking through, well, what supports can we provide once we try to get adjusted to this new norm? One thing that families have asked, when are we going to go back to the way things were? And I said, I have to be honest with you. You asked that question. There's no one that would have been able to convince me that we would have to do a remote graduation last year. I would have thought that you were insane if you said to me that the standardized test wasn't going to happen last year. What? And I'm in New York? Are you serious? Maybe you don't know about New York. We're not going to have a graduation in a building, but I've already started to order items for this graduation. What are you if you told me that in February, I would have asked you what it is that you're on, right? Like that, it's just so far-fetched. And then it happened. And then to be asked a question, well, when are things going to go back? I don't know. I didn't know I was going to be in this space right now. I have to do the very first virtual graduation ever in the history of this organization. I don't know what this is going to look like. I have no idea. And we're okay, so school, well, when is that going to get back to normal? I don't know. The numbers are now starting to drop, thankfully. I don't know what this is going to look like. Now they're saying there's a different strand. I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is that we will figure it out, and there's comfort in that.
So interesting what you're saying, because you've really made me think now. Oh my God, when I go back, I'm not just going back into having students who are learning. I may have to deal with somebody's insecurities. I may have to deal with
Absolutely
anxieties and emotional issues.
Mental health,
Mental health. Not only am I going to be a teacher, I need to be some form of other support.
Yep, very much so. Yeah,
it's true. You've really made me think now. I mean, I knew to some extent that I will need to support them, but it's true, we don't know what they're coming from.
Right.
We don't know what situations they've been in.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in, like you said previously, they're not going to be the same people. And
Exactly.
we need to know how to equip ourselves to make things that little bit more easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we are, even though we're saying things are going back to normality, it's still the unknown. We are still stepping
Yeah.
the unknown.
Yeah.
And yes, we are gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
We have to. We have no choice.
We have no
I mean, we don't even know what we will be, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know what version of Nicole you'll get. We'll find out together.
Yeah. It is very true, because it depends upon the situation is presented to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever situation is presented to you, because it's like, when we went back in September, I had a group of students who, students were saying to me, when I say to them, okay, how have you been during the COVID? 2 students said to me, they wanted to take their lives. And I'm thinking, woo. So it's like, all of these things. And it's like they hated it because the parents, didn't know them and all of that. Mm-hmm. And yet still you had some students who loved it because they got to play with their siblings. They didn't know their younger siblings. So there's so many things. And now this same group of students, they have gone back, on lockdown, because we're talking from September, because that's still the same academic year.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. From September, and now they had another set of lockdown. What would they be like when we go back? What our own children would be like? Right. When they go back into, for me, mine is still online. What's happened when he goes back into the physical on the 8th of March? What would it, And then he said to me, I really don't want to go back to school. What do you mean you don't want to go back to school?
It's scary.
Yeah, exactly. And I had students on the platform saying to me, oh, Miss, I really don't want to go back. I said, what do you mean? Some of them are eager to go back and some of them don't want to go back.
Yeah.
So it's really, this has been a really challenging time for everybody. And it is a time that we should, personally, I feel that we need to be very, very grateful for the things we used to take for granted. Mm-hmm. It is now a reminder that they cannot be taken for granted. Mm-hmm. Because things could change overnight, because COVID for us came on an overnight, because we were in the school on the Thursday, on the Friday, we were told don't go back. Right. And that's it. So, for me, I feel that we need to really be mindful as to how we deal with people, how we deal with ourselves, what we take for granted, how we take it for granted, because the things we once used to take for granted last March, we no longer take that for granted right now, because it's a difference. It's something very different. Is there anything else you want to say? Sorry, Nicole, you're saying?
No, I was just agreeing. I said absolutely. That was it. Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to say before I just say goodbye to my people?
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, so
this has been brilliant. 2 thumbs up.
Thank you. I want to thank my fantastic guests for actually coming and sharing their experience. The fortunate thing about it is they didn't only share their experience as parents, they share their experience as educators as well. You see the issues when you have educators who are parents, you hear, right? That's what happened. They share they had the parents' hat and they had the educators' hat. So they share both aspects of it. And it was really, really fantastic because, we actually see that it doesn't matter where we are in this world. We have the same challenges.
Right.
It's just from different countries. So thank you very much, guys, for coming on to share your experience as parents and your experience as educators. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for creating the platform.
You're welcome. Thank you, my Facebook audience. Those of you who would be seeing it as a recording, those of you who've seen it live, thank you very much for tuning in. And I feel it is very important as educators and parents, we have this platform where we share, because it is so important. So we all realize that we are not in this alone, and we all have more or less the same challenges. One of it is lack of engagement. One of it is we don't know what to do, because this is new for all of us. And another thing is we need to stop beating up ourselves. We need to give ourselves grace, whether or not it's parents, whether or not it's educators, because we need to stop being hard on ourselves. So good night, everybody. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'll be back again next week on the 100 Black Men of London, looking at when the children go back to school. So that'll be next Friday. And I'll be every day on my platform just doing a Facebook Live. I'm also, doing a course for teachers looking at anxiety, because a lot of teachers seem to be saying to me that one of the things they're experiencing, the anxiety of going back to school on the Monday. So they start worrying on Sunday night for Monday. And it's quite sad that educators should be so stressed, whether or not, and some of them are on the online platform. They're saying the anxiety they actually have on Sunday nights for Monday education. So this is also demonstrating to me that they've lost the passion. So I need to find a way for us to get that passion again, because it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be feeling anxious on Sunday nights for Monday. And this is not just on the online platform. This is educators going into the physical. And some of them say they've had those a long time. So I'm developing this course to enable educators to start embracing the night before. So it's like from anxiety, from Sunday night anxiety to excitement Monday morning. Because I feel it's got to be excitement, because we are actually meeting the children, looking at new opportunities. So we should be enjoying it. So thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay blessed, stay safe, and take care and look after yourselves. Bye-bye.